Hey boys and girls, what are we going to talk about today? Injuries, players returning from injuries, and who's going to get injured in the future because this team just can't stay healthy. Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, the reinforcements have finally arrived. The big guns are here, mainly Giancarlo Stanton, Josh Donaldson, and Tommy Kahnle. Rejoin the Yankees for a big showdown against the Los Angeles Dodgers, maybe a World Series preview. Hopefully at least the Yankees get there. So we'll kind of look at them, kind of analyze their initial return, as well as the series itself. I know it's even a little old news now, but it was a kind of a interesting series to me. Probably more enjoyable series so far for the Yankees so far this season. Of course, we all know about the Judge Bumgarner stuff, so we'll kind of break that all down. But of course, the Yankees getting some bad news. I think they have to shut Nestor down a little bit. I kind of predicted in the previous episode that something was wrong with him. Turns out the shoulder's been barking on him, so we'll kind of analyze that. And some of the options the Yankees have, as well as some of the other Yankee starting pitchers that they're trying to get back, mainly Rondon and Montas, where they stand in terms of their timetable. And plus, we're also just going to look at, the All-Star game. Of course, it's coming up in July, and already as a Yankee fan, you could vote early. I'll kind of give you my predictions, who would make sense there for the Yankees, who's not, who's fair. Of course, you could vote for anybody, but I'll kind of give you who I think really should be an All-Star for the Yankees. It's not really that difficult, but nevertheless, we'll go over all that stuff. But before we even get started, make sure you subscribe to the audio version podcast of the show. So as much as you want to see me, but you can hear me more and get more content, more stuff, more updates by going to wherever you get your favorite podcast. Look for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Subscribe and follow and hit it up every time new content goes up. It's frequently, you get multiple hits per week, so get a lot of Section 420 action. Get it all there. I guess we could start off with the good news of Giancarlo Stanton and Donaldson and Kahnle being back, but I guess the more immediate need was the urgency of losing Nestor Cortez. So, of course, as I mentioned at the top, he's going to be sidelined for a while with a shoulder problem. Now, it's kind of dangerous a little bit because Boone said, oh, don't worry, it doesn't feel like he'll need surgery. But once you bring out the S word, maybe this is hurt more than than we realize. We don't know. But the same right now, so far, it doesn't seem it's going to be like that. Of course, he's going to go through some exams and MRIs and stuff, and then they'll kind of find out what's the situation. But again, I mentioned this on the previous episode. Something's clearly wrong with him this season. I mean, record-wise, okay, 5-2, but his ERA over 5. We're not used to that with Nestor. And he's just had a lot of games where he's just kind of given up free-run home runs and grand slams and been bombed out early. I mean, that's not the Nestor Cortez we saw from last year and a little bit the year before that. And he's only 28 years old, relatively young guy, so something had to be wrong with him. I figured maybe it was the groin just because of the fact that he was supposed to pitch for Team USA, and of course he had to opt out for that just to sit on the sidelines a bit and heal his groin, and he had a bit of a delayed start of the season, and really this entire season. He had maybe 2 or 3 starts, but all right, okay, that looks like Nestor Cortez. But a lot of the starts, even the games he won, he would only go about 5 or 6 innings, so he just didn't seem like himself. He was walking a lot of batters too. You just remember him last year just being absolutely dominant. Again, he doesn't really blow you away, but it has all the funkiness and the quickie arm angles like that. And this wasn't Nestor Cortez we've seen so far in 2023, as well as his main problem has been the third time through the lineup has really killed him there. And usually that's not a problem with him because he has a whole bag of tricks and he could go through a lineup 3 or 4 times and, kind of get through it. But of course now maybe this is limited, maybe his fastball isn't there. Who knows what the situation is? But of course now they can sit him down for a while. So hopefully it's not that serious. But of course, Nestor Cortez is the main cog. So if it's a situation where it's going to take longer in the season, or as God forbid he doesn't need surgery then and you lose him, that's going to be a major problem for the Yankees because, okay, you're happy you got Cole, Severino looks he's rolling along, even though he got knocked around in the first Dodger game. I'm not going to put too much stock in that. But the rest of the staff other than that, you got to hold your breath with it because Schmidt and Herman, okay, they're okay, but they're not really top-line starters, as well as Rondon. We don't even know when this guy's coming back. Now, they say with Rondon, he's at least getting close to facing live batters. Great. But there's still no timetable when you're going to see this guy. That's still a ways down the road. And again, Schmidt and Herman have been better a little bit, but you don't look at them as like a top-line starters like that. So, Nestor Cortez, that is big shoes to fill. And of course, last but not least, our good old friend Frankie Montas. Now, finally, Matt Blake, the pitching coach, said he has started a throwing regimen, so it's great. If you may recall, he had surgery back on February 21st to clear out the labrum there. But at best, you're not looking to him to like the first week of September there. So, Yankees, I think they go weather the storm a little bit. Of course, they called up Johnny Brito, who, again, I was high on him early on, but, he kind of faded a little bit. But I guess he's at least competent there for maybe 4 or 5 innings. But his situation, hasn't really taken off as I hope he would there. But he's there to hold the fort. But we'll see at some point if Nestor's going to be out or if he needs the surgery. Then it's be a situation where the Yankees yet again have to be looking to the trade deadline to bring another starter in here because you get into the playoffs, Colin Severino's fine, but you still need maybe that third really big starter. You go back in 2009 with the Yankees last time they won the World Championship. You had 3, CC, Burnett, and Pettit, and you could piece your way along there, but at least need 3 studs there. You can't just do it with 2. So we'll see what happens with the Yankees down the road, but hopefully Nestor's not going to be out too long. So I guess we'll get to the good stuff of the return of Giancarlo Stanton along with Donaldson, Tommy Kahnle. I know a lot of Yankee fans probably not too excited about Donaldson being back, but at least the other two, Giancarlo Stanton and Tommy Kahnle. I remember Kahnle was kind of that fun, zany guy a couple of seasons ago, doing the slip slide into the clubhouse and all that stuff, and kind of brings a little energy, little attitude to the team, maybe a little bit of a Nick Swisherish in him in there. So I think it does help the team. And of course, they could use some relief in the bullpen, just because mainly, we've seen Michael King, Clay Holmes, and Peralta kind of pick up the heavy load in what Boone would call the high leverage innings. Well, Tommy Kahnle is a proven reliever who could also chip in there and maybe give one of those guys a night off once in a while, especially someone like Michael King, who usually goes multiple innings, and he's just coming off a surgery himself last year. So if you could spell him a little bit the rest of the season, that of course helps. And of course later in the season, we're getting the likes of Loizaga back as well, and that'll just pad to it. And of course, I think at some point, as I mentioned in the previous episode, they're gonna have to get a closer because they keep switching. They'll let Holmes close the game, they'll let Peralta close the game, they kind of flip flop between back and forth. And, at some point, you're going to have to get someone that you just know it's at their job, 9th inning, no matter what, going forward. But that's a little bit later down the line. But the good news, Kahnle's back, and, of course, Giancarlo Stanton back. As for Josh Donaldson, obviously, it's going to happen. Fans are going to have a short fuse with him. Obviously, now Hicks isn't here anymore. So before it was kind of Hicks and Donaldson kind of traded the fans' ire. Well, Hicks is gone, so now it's going to be 100% focused on Josh Donaldson. So let's see what he does with the pressure here. But impressive first game back. In that first game against the Dodgers, hits a home run off of Clayton Kershaw. Again, that's a marquee name, not too shabby. And then later in the game as well, Stan, in a losing effort, he also went deep off of Kershaw. And then later in that game, Donaldson hit yet another home run. Say, hey, look, it's just an early little test here, so I don't put too much into it. But hey, look, the first game, the two of them hit 3 home runs combined, so hey, not too bad for the Yankees. And a little late in the episode, we'll kind of break down and look into that Dodgers series because, again, a very good, enjoyable series. Again, you got 2 national games, both on Fox and then ESPN there. So, again, it was a pretty good series for the Yankees. But nevertheless, it's going to be Donaldson. And he's going to have some pressure because obviously we know from last season the fans are going to be on him, as well as you're seeing IKF increasing his play. He's hitting more, and he's someone who could be an option at third base. And if Donaldson doesn't hit over a period of time, they might give more of the playing time to IKF, so he has to worry about that. And as well as Peraza tearing up a little bit in AAA. Now, I don't think it's a situation he will come up unless it's the cover an injury for somebody. So I don't think Donaldson has to worry about Peraza too much. But, of course, he does have to look across the bench to IKF, who has been playing a little bit better lately. Now, of the two of them, I think Donaldson has more of an upside. He has more power. So, again, the Yankees are going to be looking for that, for him to drive the ball and bring us some more RBIs. Even though IKF has been hitting a little bit better lately, you've seen it the power, you've seen it the home runs, and you kind of favor Josh Donaldson there. Defense, they're probably more or less the same a little bit, maybe IKF a little bit better, but as of right now, I think they're going to give Donaldson the benefit of the doubt most of the way. But if he has any sort of long struggles like that, then of course I'll see them go to IKF at their third base. And of course, back when he was with Texas, a Gold Glover there, so you don't worry about him defensively. But of course, you need him. You need at least hit there, and he's been hitting a little better. Got himself a little way over 200. Remember back in April and early May, looked like he was just completely nothing there. But then he has picked it up in recent weeks there. And of course, Giancarlo Stanton, it's all about keeping him healthy. So that's the thing. He wants to play the field. He knows he's going to play the field a little bit, but they really got to limit it. I guess maybe just once or twice a week, and that's it, because he's just too injury prone. It's all about just keeping him healthy, just have him ready for the playoffs so he's fresh. Last season, yes, he was in the playoffs, but he hit a couple of home runs. He hit that big 3-run home run against Cleveland there. But other than that, he just looked like he was tired out. And in the Astros series, he had absolutely nothing. He was just whiffing left and right there. So they got to keep him fresh and ready for October so we can have a lineup that includes a fresh Judge and a fresh Giancarlo Stanton. Now, as a Yankee, as I mentioned before, Yankee fans maybe not too happy with Donaldson to be back. So towards the end of this episode, something we introduced this season, I'm going to read some fan tweets. Of course, you kind of know what's going to happen here, but I'll just give some other fan reactions when they announce the news that Donaldson and Stan will come back. So make sure you stay tuned for the rest of the episode to catch those angry, funny tweets, and of course, I'll be sarcastic as hell as I read them. So let's look at the Dodgers series, which I think was important for the Yankees because, look, the Los Angeles Dodgers, they've kind of been in it the past couple of years. Of course, back in 2020, the kind of the COVID bubble game World Series there beat the Tampa Bay Rays. So you always kind of look at them as a barometer. Again, they're in it almost every year. Now, it's not exactly the same Dodger team as maybe 2 years ago, not as dominant. Of course, they lost Seager, they lost Justin Turner, as well as Corey Bellinger, again, the former Yankee, who he was a phenom there a couple years ago and kind of lost a little bit. Now he's with the Cubs. So they're not as dominant as they were a couple years ago. But again, when you face them in their own ballpark with two national games, a Saturday night game and a Sunday night game, it's a good test for your team. And I think, I like the way the Yankees came out of this one. Now, the first game should have been a little bit more exciting. You had, a good matchup of Clayton Kershaw versus Luis Severino. Severino, where it didn't have it, it's his first really bad game since coming back. So whatever, it just wasn't there. He got bombed in the first inning and just gave it 5 runs. That's just one of those games, whatever, you chalk it up. And for Clayton Kershaw, in his 16 years as a major league pitcher, that was his first time beating the New York Yankees. So, they faced Kershaw a few times. This was his first time actually getting a W against the Yankees there. So, wowee for that. But the other 2 games are pretty solid, mainly because the second one. And they're going to be talking about this one for a while. This is the one where Judge made that catch late in the game where he literally smashed and went through the bullpen wall there. Now, he ended up getting hurt a little bit there, so hopefully nothing serious. But that moment, that shot, this is going to be one of the iconic things you see from years to come, whether it's like one of the Jeter flip plays or the, Jeter running to the crowd in, 2004 and like getting the gash on his face. They're going to be talking that one for a while. So it's kind of an iconic game. And more importantly, the Yankees come away with the win. And of course, the last game, the third game, to me was the most enjoyable because it wasn't your typical Yankee win. They kind of, it was a game that was scoreless, 0-0 going into the 7th inning there. Herman was throwing a great game, and the Yankees was able to scratch a run in with this little small ball, a little bit a dribbler by Higgy to shortstop, was able to score an RBI. Now, they would come back with a J.D. Martinez home run off of Herman to tie the game, and then later in the game, Yankees again playing a little bit small ball. Oswaldo Cabrera, an RBI ground out. Again, nothing exciting, but just making contact and moving runners, because when it comes to the playoffs, you're not going to get the big home runs. You're not going to get doubles. It's going to be all small ball, getting on the base, moving runners over, and get bleaks and bloops and stuff like that, and that's how you score runs. And that's, again, something that this Yankee team has not been doing in the past several playoff years, and that's why really they haven't gone for much out of the first or second round there. So good to see them play a little small ball, but of course, again, the Yankees put the third game away with the rookie Anthony Volpe with the 2-run home run. Again, for the young guy there, to put it over the wall, his 9th of the year at the time. And they put the game away at 4-1 at the point. And again, a very satisfying win for the Yankees there. And without any, it was a game that Judge had to stand out because he hurt his toe from going through the wall. So you didn't really have it wasn't like the greatest of Yankee lineups. Includes Calhoun, stuff like that. But the Yankees find a way to get it done there. And it was a good game for Oswaldo Cabrera, because before the game, of course, when they called up Donaldson, Stanton and Canely, they ended up moving Oswaldo Cabrera down to AAA, who hasn't been hitting as well. Again, I mentioned before, in the previous episode, no one's really going out to take this left fielder job, and that's, Cabrera was one of the people that really hasn't grabbed it by the horns, so they ended up sending him down to AAA just to make room for the roster. And then, look, he could have sulked, he could have complained. No, he went down there and just for one day, and just got lucky with Greg Allen getting hurt with a hip flexor issue. They bring him up the very next day, so he really was only down there for one day. And then in the game, in the second game, hits a home run, just gets it off the chest, and then contributes in the third game there. So this is good for Cabrera to say, hey, look, took a little bit of lump there, but came right back to the majors and contributed right away. So very satisfying win, good game for the Yankees, and we'll see where it goes from there. But kind of interesting, as I mentioned before, flip-flop with the closes. You had Holmes close out the second game and Peralta close out the third game. I'm not a fan of that, but that's just the way Boone's going to go with matchups until they solidify the 9th inning. And if we want to look, obviously the offense is going to be much better once the Yankees get Harrison Bader back again. Of course, he became a fan favorite right away once he came off. It really is the addition of him finally joining the team in 2023, and then Judge come off the IL, where this team really started to click. And again, since that time, the Yankees have been one of the better teams in baseball. But you always got to look back at these trades, and I remember people like to love get on Brian Cashman. Again, he makes some bad ones once in a while. Sometimes he gets caught, like the Frankie Montas, Lou Trevino, both of them needing surgery. I mean, that's just a bad trade, but nevertheless. But you got to, give Cashman his kudos on this one with the trade. So let's look at our friend Jordan Montgomery, who we traded for Beta down there. Well, right now he's sitting at 2-7 with an ERA a little bit under 5. So, and also the Cardinals right now, they're on a streak where they've lost the last 10 games he started. So not all of his fault, not sometimes getting that run support. But right now, his record is 2-7. And so, you want to look at that trade. The Yankees got a center fielder back who made a medium impact. The fans love him. He's great. And Jordan Montgomery's just kind of lingering, And if you want to look back at his career with the Yankees, I mean, I like the guy, but across 6 seasons, 97 starts, his career record only 22-20, so just 2 games over 500, and an ERA of 3.94, just a little bit under 4. So at the time, it was just kind of a meandering, kind of a middle of the road type of starter, and you get a center field like Harrison Bader in here, who's made an impact on this team and helped, catapult him and take him really out of the basement where people are almost ready to give up on 2023 there. So sometimes these trades, you just got to give them a little time to air out, and so far this one, you got to give the check mark to Cashman. And talking about Cashman, of course, he finally made the decision to DFA Aaron Hicks, which, of course, we know that was coming. Just, again, they gave him probably more than the time expected, but, of course, the money he makes and stuff like that, years left in the contract, he kind of gave him one more shot, 2023. It didn't work out. And, of course, a little bit old news, but more recently, of course, picked up by the Baltimore Orioles. Now, if you have the subscribed to the audio version podcast of the show, you know my sort of take on it, but I guess I'll share with you here that I think that does a complete, intelligence job by them. They said that they saw something in Aaron Hicks, and of course that all happens when Cedric Mullins went down and they needed an outfielder. But come on, you could find 1,000 better options than Aaron Hicks. And for them to say they saw something in him, well, you look at his last 4 games, nothing spectacular. And the final game as a Yankee went 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts and was hitting, again, under 200 there. So, yeah, he's a veteran leader. But basically, they're just looking to get any intel on the Yankees. What do they do here with signs and stuff like that? Just trying to get some games, because now the competitors in the AL East. So the All-Star game this year is going to be in Seattle, Tuesday, July 11th. And, of course, you could do early voting, and then, of course, you have all the Yankees up there. But you got to be fair about this. Like, I know you could vote like a 150 hitter there, and if that person gets the most votes, there's the starting, which I think is ridiculous. But nevertheless, I think it's fair enough that time we can look at this Yankee team and who really deserves to go and who doesn't deserve to go. I think, for example, Giancarlo Stanton, I think he missed too much time there where I just don't think he deserves it now. Look, if people get hurt and stuff like that and they just need other players to come in, I guess maybe he could come in at some point. Maybe, the coaches or the other players could vote him in or something like that. But nevertheless, I think, as Yankee fans, though, I think we should just look at this Yankee team as it is now and who really deserves to go and who doesn't deserve to go. And, of course, right off the bat, obviously a no-brainer, Aaron Judge. And just because Aaron Judge, most recently was in Seattle, had a couple of home runs, and, of course, he's had a career barrage bomb home runs in Seattle, because they'll replay that over and over. And of course that amazing catch against Torres Hernandez, robbing him of a home run there. So it just seems a fit there that Judge and of course the Judge is going to get so many votes. So Judge is going there. You want to look at the other Yankees, I think also Anthony Rizzo is playing a great first base, as well as hitting for power, as well as hitting almost 300, which is a big rarity this day and age in baseball. And last but not least, for the Yankees, Garrett Cole, who at least at this point early on is a 6-0 record, and maybe had a couple of, after a great start, maybe a couple of mediocre starts after that, but still really hasn't been cost the Yankees any losing streaks or anything like that. And of course has a great record. It's been great for the Yankees. So I could see Judge, Rizzo, and Cole. Now other Yankees potentially in the bullpen, because they're always going to need relievers. I see any of the three main ones the Yankees have, King, Holmes, and Peralta. I think they all be in the shuffle there, so I wouldn't be shocked if one of them or maybe 2 of them go. You know how it is, like someone can get voted in, but if they're not on their pitching day, and then that pitcher they don't want that pitcher on a certain rest and make the pitcher sit down, so then they get someone else to go in there and pitch. So who knows, once the start is in there, you could have other people thrown in. Now, last year the Yankees had 6 people they sent to the All-Star game, so I could definitely see 3 at a minimum, but maybe 2 more. So the Yankees might have 5 representatives of there. So I think that's good. Now, I've heard other fans, other Yankee fans say that Volpe should go. Hey, look, I like Volpe. He's been great, have a good rookie season. But you can't be batting 200 or under and be a starter in the All-Star game. It's just got to be fair about that. Don't want to hold it against him. I think it's great. I've even seen some Yankee fans say they should send him down to work on his batting average. I think that doesn't make sense. I think he's good taking his lumps up here. Look, very impressive. 9 home runs, 24, 25 RBIs with 13 stolen bases. I mean, you're not going to get that from too many rookies. And yes, the batting average is low, but look at some other shortstops around the league. Let's look across town. Lindor hitting like 213. Carlos Correa is hitting a little bit over 200. He's making a ton of money. So, there's not a lot of great hitting shortstops. Nevertheless, I just don't think it's proper for Volpe to be a starter there. But again, only 22 years old, and I think he'll have his time. He'll get better, and I'm happy he'll be up here at the major league level, taking his lumps up here, and I think he'll be a much better player in the years to come. So we'll get into the fan tweets about the return of Stan and Donaldson shortly, but I want to go a little off topic there because I kind of find it interesting. So there was a story about Doug Mankiewicz. Now, he was at the On the Foul Territory podcast there, and of course he spent some years in Boston. Of course, with the Yankees in 2007. Again, that was the Yankee the Canadian Soldier game out in Cleveland there, where the Yankees got the bugs went in the Jabba Chamberlain's mouth and stuff like that. And nevertheless, bad memories, I don't want to bring him back, but nevertheless, he was part of that team there. So they actually asked him about Jeter and A-Rod, because at the time he was kind of a newcomer coming in, again, from Boston originally, and he was kind of like, well, how's this Yankee clubhouse? And he figured it was all buttoned up, and Jeter was all serious and stuff like that. So kind of told an interesting story, which was kind of weird. So basically, Posada and Jeter, maybe others, pulled a prank on him just to make Mankiewicz feel like he caused Jeter a cologne line, whatever, in Macy's or something like that. And it turns out by game 4, and it turned out to be the final game of the season, that's when they pulled the prank on him. But this is kind of finding it interesting. Like, this was that series against the Indians. I meant, Obviously, you lose that heartbreaking, the bug game there. The Yankees are down 0-2. You come back to New York. And I know you want to be lighthearted and joke around a little bit and stuff, but it's kind of a serious thing. I mean, you're down 0-2 in the series. You have the situation where Roger Clemens tried to go in Game 3. He had nothing. Had the plantar fasciitis. That was the only game the Yankees ended up winning that series at home to at least bring it to a Game 4. And then you lose Game 4. I think you lose like 6-3. And again, you would think you'd be in a down mood and a bad mood, but along this whole time this is going on in the series, Jeter and Posada pulling this prank on Mankiewicz, and they finally get him afterwards. Kind of tells the story. So I know I'm just a little surprised like Jeter would do that. We just know how he is, the captain and all that stuff, and like this time to joke around, not to joke around. But I just think that time when you're losing a series like that, I mean, I don't think it's really the time there. So it's just kind of interesting thing because we always see Jeter about winning, and like that, no joking around, no messing around there, and you're pulling the prank during a series like that. So I think it's kind of funny the way he did it, but it's just kind of that took me back a little bit that Jeter would do that. But nevertheless, maybe Jeter wasn't so uptight as we thought he was. Now, as for his thoughts on A-Rod, and I guess we know what A-Rod, all these different married to this person, married to that person, and Mankiewicz's view, A-Rod's going to die a lonely man. So too bad for A-Rod, but you figure this is all coming up because now you got the Fox promos, you got Jeter and A-Rod, stuff like that going on, so I guess they asked Mankiewicz about it. So it seems like he's shining towards Jeter, not too shiny towards A-Rod. So the moment I promised, we're going to look at other Yankee fan tweets. Now this was back, from Friday when the Yankees announced that, made the roster moves that they were bringing up Donaldson and Stanton as well as Tommy Kahnle, as well as placing Carlos Rendon on the 60-day DL. And that's just kind of formalities to make a roster spot move. Doesn't mean he's going to be out for another 60 days, even though it kind of seems like it. But nevertheless, so I wanted to get some fan reactions of that initial news. So you're going to get a little Stanton, a little Donaldson. I mean, you can't really hate Kahnle, so you only like him. And of course, there's some, disappointment in Rendon. So we're going to read those tweets. We're going to use some modern technology there. So I got the old tablet up there. So we're going to hit it off here. So the first one here, now, of course, it goes out to Rendon. Wait, I thought Rendon was going to come back at the end of the month. What the F? So obviously this person thought, we've heard since April that we were going to get Rendon in May. Then we heard we're going to get Rendon in June. And we don't know Rendon's coming back. As I mentioned at the top, he's at least going to start throwing to live batters. So he's going to have to do that for a little bit. Then he's going to have to go through the minors, so maybe it looks like July, if that, but we don't know with him. So I guess this is in regards to Stanton and his frequency of getting injured. Going to take a couple of weeks to get the timing back in the show. Then pops a quad. I can see that happening with Stanton. Obviously, now this person likes Tommy Kahnle, is probably not too happy with Stanton and Donaldson. Two old has-beens. And Tommy Right Pants. I don't know what it means by Tommy Right Pants, but clearly this person not a fan of Stanton and Donaldson, but okay with Kahnle. Here's another one. It's a little anti-Stanton. I give Stanton 10 games before another soft tissue tear. So you can see that. Again, he's always pulling a hammy or pulling a tendon here or there, nonetheless. Now, this is a person that's totally happy. This is a positive Yankee fan, so it's good to see that. Stanton and Kahnle are back with an exclamation point. Now, no mention of Donaldson, but I guess keeping it positive. Hashtag Yankees, hashtag RepBX. So this guy's totally pumped up. Not too thrilled with Donaldson, but he doesn't mention Donaldson, so whatever. If you have nothing good to say about somebody, don't say anything. So that's the lesson there. Rendon isn't showing up till after the 4th. Book it. I can see that. As I mentioned before, you're probably looking at July, but if it's after the 4th of July holiday, I wouldn't be surprised at all. The road for Josh Donaldson getting DFA'd starts tonight. So this person's looking forward to Donaldson starting to get some at-bats so he could strike out and be terrible and get DFA'd. He's still making a lot of money. Now, look, it's half the season almost gone already, so I meant the Yankees can more afford to say, hey, look, just sit home just like Aaron Hicks. But they're already eating money with Aaron Hicks. Again, now he's with Baltimore Orioles for who knows long before he ends up getting DFA'd there. But nevertheless, with Donaldson, the clock's on for him. And look, he's got a short time. He's got competition with IKF. And also he's got to look over his shoulder. Oswaldo Cabrera could play some third base. And as well as, of course, got Peraza down in AAA. So, again, Donaldson's going to have to perform. Let's see. It's still not too late to DFA Donaldson. A lot of people there just want to get rid of Donaldson right there. So, again, they're going to be on him tough, like I mentioned earlier in this episode. Let's effing go. So this person just totally pumped up, likes it. Okay, I like the positive energy there. Can't believe this team is losing Cabrera. Now, as remember originally when they came up, they sent Oswaldo Cabrera down to AAA, which he wouldn't even get there. Come right back to New York and hit a home run and contribute. So this person was bummed out about Cabrera. He was like, oh, man, he's not there for Friday. Boom. The next day, Saturday, Cabrera hits a home run. Now, this fan must be very happy right now. And at least Cabrera will be around for the foreseeable future. We'll see what happens to the whole Greg Allen situation after that. TK's energy is unmatched. Yes, Tommy Kahnle, you know, I mentioned before, very zany, very energetic, kind of has that Nick Swisher playfulness to him. So, yes, you like to see him back there in the Yankee clubhouse there. Trade Franchy Cordero. He chokes too much in big situations. Well, I don't know. He's this guy you bring up and down a little bit. He's not going to be a factor. He's around for a few games until someone gets hurt. So I know he was good for the Yankees early April, had a couple of big home runs, but unfortunately, yes, he's been disappointing since. Had a big strikeout. Remember that game the Yankees lost against Seattle 1-0 there, where the Yankees really could have won that game, in the top of the 10th there. But again, he struck out a big spot there. But you don't count. He probably won't be around here anymore. And you're not going to trade him. No one's going to take anything for Franchy Cordero. And you get maybe like an empty beer mug for him, if that. Fire Boone. Why fire Boone? The Yankees are hot right now. They're one of the better teams in baseball over the past month or so. So I don't know why you're looking to fire Boone there. This one's kind of interesting, kind of smart as well. Rondon is the new Rovette. If you kind of think about it this way, I mean, when we first got Ben Rovette, we got him last season. Then we never got to see him last season because he was kind of coming back from injury there. And then started this season, needed a surgical procedure, and we didn't see him until finally Trevino went to the island. He came up in a short amount of time. Yeah, he was pretty impressive. We liked him. And you kind of like the same thing with Rondon. It's like, all right, it's a great guy. Maybe we'll try him out here. But when are we going to see this guy? And when are we going to see Rondon? Again, at this point, you're probably looking July there. So, but that was kind of a smart one. So we like that guy. And you know what, Rovette, at some point, if someone gets hurt, I think he was competent. I liked him up here. I liked his left-handed bat. He looked good. So, hey, he's a good security blanket for Higgy, Trevino. God forbid one of them goes down there. Giancarlo and Tommy. I'm levitating. So this person is so excited about Kahnle and Stanton coming back. The person's levitating off the ground. Again, no mention of Donaldson, but it's one of those things where if you have something nice to say about somebody, don't say anything at all. So, but I think the Stanton home run blast might got this guy levitating, so that's good there. If they could not start JD, as in meaning Donaldson, anytime soon, that would be great. So this person, again, clearly doesn't want Donaldson in there, and again, the fans are going to be on him quick if he doesn't perform. Now, this is like one of those dumb trades. You look at these people, like they call into the radio station and stuff, and they propose the dumbest trades possible, and here's a good one here. I just had to point out because it's so bad. We can trade Volpe and Torres, so our two infielders up the middle there, for Tatis Jr. and promote Peraza to second base. Well, Tatis Jr. is making a boatload of money. Why are you taking Gleyber Torres making $9 million, Volpe's making peanuts, trade them for Tatis who's making $1 billion, and then, well, you call Peraza. You're just adding like $40 million per year for your payroll for Tatis Jr. It's a good player, but you got Volpe making peanuts. He's under control for like the next 6 years. Why would you even make that trade? This is one of those bonehead trades where it's just terrible. But I had to mention it because it's so bad. This one's actually kind of funny. Should have left Donaldson in single A. So again, this person wants Donaldson in single A. Stay there. You're not even good enough for triple, or double, or triple A at that point. Another one here. DFA Donaldson, please. The Donaldson haters are out there, and there are many. Stanton is back, baby. Okay, a little positive now. Just happy with Stanton. No mention Donaldson, but happy with Stanton. I'm convinced we're never going to see Rondon. I don't know, maybe. I mean, he got this chronic back issue. They gave him the cortisone shots. Again, he's going to throw live batters very soon, so he's working his way there. But, again, he was hurt a couple of seasons with Chicago. Was healthy more recently with the Giants, but, again, the Yankees right off the bat getting an injured play, and it just burns because he also got burnt with Frankie Montas, also a big star he brought in last season, and it turns out someone that's get a delay to be able to see this guy. Now, it says Donaldson with like one of those emojis with a cry, so this is a person just sad, doesn't want to see Donaldson back, another anti-Donaldson person. Please, for the love of God, can we be done with Donaldson? ? Seriously. So we're looking at that. Now, this one is, I'm going to go a little classy. I'm going to go Spanish. Again, I hope this is not a curse word, but I'm going to try to nail this one. Yala and Cabanos con Carlos Rondon. I have no idea what that means.